Hello all my dear students, I warmly welcome you all to Sri Jayendra Rank Zone classes, the pioneers in education, and I am Amit Ajmani, your science faculty. Let us continue with the next topic of the chapter life processes. Till now we have seen that life processes are the processes which are essential for the life of an organism, and we categorize four processes as life processes: nutrition, respiration, transportation, and excretion. Till now, in our previous lectures, we have studied in detail about the process nutrition, how it takes place in plants as well as in animals. We studied about the human digestive system, and we saw a lot many questions based on that particular topic. Now we'll be studying in detail the another life process, that is respiration. So let us continue with the respiration. In this lecture, we'll be focusing on less respiration. What exactly is respiration? Respiration is a biochemical process of oxidation of food to release energy. Whatever food we have eaten, in the process nutrition through our human digestive system, that food was broken down into simpler forms, that was glucose. Now that glucose will be oxidized to release energy, and the process which releases energy, that is termed as respiration, and that is why it is considered as a life process, because we require energy for all our molecular movements as well as body movements. If we don't have energy, we'll not be able to move. Now this respiration takes place inside the cells of the body, that is why it is known as cellular respiration. There are certain times when there is a confusion, or the people tend to get confused respiration with breathing, but it is not. What exactly is breathing? It is just a process of taking in inhalation of oxygen and exhalation of carbon dioxide. But what exactly is respiration? It is a far more complex process of taking in of oxygen, oxidizing the food to liberate energy, and as a result the carbon dioxide which is produced, liberation of that. So we can say that breathing is just a part of respiration. Let us see a few more differences in order to differentiate between breathing and respiration. Breathing, as I told you, it is the process of taking in of fresh air, that is oxygen, and giving out the foul air, that is carbon dioxide. Whereas respiration is the process of oxidative breakdown of food to liberate energy. Breathing is a physical process, whereas respiration is a biochemical process. Breathing consumes energy, whereas respiration produces energy. For breathing, no enzymes are required, but in respiration, enzymatic action is required, enzymes are involved. Breathing is an extracellular process. It takes place outside the cells are not involved. Whereas respiration is an intracellular process because it takes place inside the cells of the body. For breathing, only a few organs of our body are involved, whereas respiration is performed by each and every cell of the body of organism. So these are a few differences based on which we can differentiate between breathing and respiration. Now, when we relate respiration, the reaction of respiration is that the glucose which has been prepared either by autotrophs or in heterotrophs as a result of digestion of food, this glucose will be oxidized in order to produce energy, and in this process carbon dioxide and water are liberated. The complete reaction is C6H12O6 plus 6O2 forms 6CO2 plus 6H2O along with energy which is liberated in the form of ATP. Now, if we try to relate this reaction of respiration, we find that this reaction is totally opposite of what we have studied in nutrition, that is photosynthesis. In photosynthesis, what we saw, just the opposite. There, plants were able to synthesize their food utilizing carbon dioxide and water, and as a result of this reaction, glucose was formed along with the liberation of oxygen. So, looking at these two, we can very well relate that respiration and photosynthesis are totally reversal processes, right? This process takes place in the presence of sunlight and chlorophyll. Photosynthesis we are talking about, and respiration, it liberates energy. So let us try to differentiate between photosynthesis and respiration. Photosynthesis is an anabolic process because it is the process of formation of a substance, that is glucose, whereas respiration is a catabolic process in which breakdown of glucose is taking place. Photosynthesis is an endothermic process because in this reaction, light in the form of energy is absorbed, whereas respiration is an exothermic process because here energy is liberated in the form of heat. Photosynthesis converts light energy into chemical energy, whereas respiration converts the chemical energy of food into usable form of energy. Photosynthesis occurs only during daytime and it occurs only in green cells, whereas respiration occurs all the time and it occurs in all types of living cells. Talking about the reactants and the products, photosynthesis takes in carbon dioxide and water as the raw material, and the end products are glucose and oxygen, whereas respiration takes in glucose and oxygen as the raw materials and carbon dioxide and water are the end products. Apart from these, we know that photosynthesis occurs only in green plants, whereas respiration occurs in both plants as well as animals. Fine. Now, a very important topic that you need to relate is types of respiration. This respiration is further of two types. One is aerobic and one is anaerobic. Aerobic, we know that respiration taking place in the presence of oxygen, and anaerobic, which takes place in the absence of oxygen. Let us try to understand these two one by one in detail. We have just actually written the reaction in a very simple way above, that in respiration, glucose is broken down into carbon dioxide and water. But this process is more complex. How exactly this process of respiration takes place? Let us understand it. First of all, we have taken the initial reactant as glucose. Now, what exactly happens is this glucose is first of all broken down into a compound which is called pyruvate, or it is also called pyruvic acid. And this process takes place in the cytoplasm of the cell. And this process is given a name. This is called glycolysis. What is glycolysis? It is the process of breakdown of glucose into pyruvate or pyruvic acid. Where exactly is this process taking place? It is taking place in the cytoplasm of the cells. Now, this pyruvate or pyruvic acid in the presence of oxygen will be broken down into carbon dioxide, water, and they will liberate energy which is stored in the form of ATPs, that is adenosine triphosphate, and 38 ATP molecules are released. This process is called aerobic respiration because it is taking place in the presence of oxygen, and it takes place in the mitochondria of the cell. This particular process is also termed as Krebs cycle, right? And because it is taking place in the mitochondria, that is why the mitochondria is also termed as the powerhouse or the power plant of the cell. This is aerobic respiration. Few things which we need to relate. Glucose, one molecule, first of all undergoes glycolysis in cytoplasm, and it forms two molecules of pyruvate or pyruvic acid. This pyruvate in the mitochondria in presence of oxygen undergoes Krebs cycle and forms carbon dioxide, water, and releases 38 ATPs of energy. This is aerobic respiration. Fine. Now let us talk about the second type of respiration, that is anaerobic respiration. Now this anaerobic respiration is a type of respiration in which food is broken down to liberate energy in the absence of oxygen. This anaerobic respiration further takes place either in yeast cells or in the muscle cells. Let us see how these two are different. First of all, trying to understand how this anaerobic respiration takes place in yeast cells. This process which takes place in yeast cell is quite importantly also known as fermentation. Now the initial step or the process is altogether same as we have seen in the aerobic respiration, that one molecule of glucose undergoes glycolysis, that is breakdown of glucose in the cytoplasm of the cell, forming pyruvate or pyruvic acid, two molecules of it. Now the difference comes. Now oxygen is absent. Now in the absence of oxygen in yeast cytoplasm, this pyruvate breaks down into C2H5OH. This is ethanol or ethyl alcohol, along with the liberation of carbon dioxide, and energy is liberated but only 2 ATPs. So in yeast cells, in the absence of oxygen, the final byproducts are ethanol, carbon dioxide, and 2 ATPs energy. This is the anaerobic respiration taking place in yeast cells. Talking about in muscle cells. Here, once again, the starting process is altogether same. One molecule of glucose undergoes glycolysis in the cytoplasm, breaking down into two molecules of pyruvate or pyruvic acid. Now, in the absence of oxygen, anaerobic respiration is going to take place in the muscle cells. In muscle cells, now this pyruvate is broken down into lactic acid, along with the liberation of 6 molecules of water and 2 molecules of ATP. So the end product of anaerobic respiration in muscle cells are lactic acid and water, along with liberation of 2 ATPs. Right? Now in this we need to relate and remember a few things. These are important. ATP, we know what is ATP. The full form, expanded form is adenosine triphosphate. This ATP, as we already have studied, that it is called the energy currency of the cell. Why? Because all the energy is stored in our body in the form of ATPs. Glucose, we know that it is C6H12O6, C6. So we say that it is a 6 carbon atom compound. It is the simple food which is oxidized in the cell of organisms during respiration. Talking about pyruvic acid or pyruvate, it is a 3 carbon atom compound and the formula is CH3 single bond C double bond O single bond COOH. Right? Acidic group organic acid, COOH group is present. Right? It is, and because we have got this C double bond O ketonic group, so we call pyruvic acid to be a ketonic carboxylic acid. Another acid we just studied is lactic acid or lactate. It is CH3 single bond CH single bond OH single bond COOH. It is again a 3 carbon atom compound, and because of this hydroxyl group and acidic group, it is called hydroxy carboxylic acid. So these are the formulas for pyruvic acid and lactic acid. And these are the three types of respiration. Actually they are two, but one is aerobic and the another one anaerobic, taking place in yeast cells and muscle cells. So we can say that these are the three types of respiration. You need to relate the mid products and the final products of all these type of respiration. Now let us see how aerobic and anaerobic respiration are different. What are the differences between the two? Aerobic respiration takes place in the presence of oxygen, anaerobic in the absence of oxygen. Now in aerobic respiration, complete breakdown of food is taking place, whereas in anaerobic, only partial breakdown of food occurs. In aerobic, the end products are carbon dioxide and water, whereas in anaerobic, the end products, we have to write both, are either ethanol and carbon dioxide in case of yeast cells and lactic acid in case of muscle cells. Now in anaerobic, because complete breakdown of food is taking place, that is why the amount of energy produced is more, that is 38 ATPs. Whereas in anaerobic, the amount of energy produced is quite less, that is only 2 ATPs. Aerobic takes place partly in cytoplasm, that is the glycolysis part, and partly in the mitochondria of the cells. Whereas anaerobic takes place entirely in the cytoplasm of the cells, whether it is yeast or muscle cells. Right? Now, when we talk about anaerobic, there is one more thing that is often asked, that why on vigorous exercise cramps are formed in our body. Now, when we do vigorous exercise, in order to fulfill the energy requirements, anaerobic respiration starts taking place, because of which, as a byproduct, lactic acid is formed. Because in muscle cells, we have seen that the end products are lactic acid and water. This lactic acid gets deposited and it actually causes hindrance to the movement of the muscles, causing cramps, causing pain. It will take 2, 3, 4 days for this lactic acid to degenerate and then it will become fine. Okay. So this is all about our types of respiration. Now let us see how the exchange of gases takes place in plants. Plants, they respire independently and individually. All the parts, the exchange of gases takes place independently. For example, talking about the roots. Now the respiration or the exchange of gases in roots occurs by the process of diffusion. Right? Both the respiratory gases, carbon dioxide and oxygen, they are exchanged from the roots and the soil through root hairs. from the air which is present between the soil particles, and the process is simple diffusion. Now, the stem is the hard and woody part. They have some spaces in their bark. They are called lenticels. Wherever the cells are loosely packed, these lenticels are present, which allow the gaseous exchange between the air and the living cells of the stem. Again, the process remains the same, that is diffusion. And in leaves, we have already studied the exchange of gases takes place in leaves through the tiny pores present on the surface of leaves called stomata, and the process is again diffusion. So all the exchange of gases between the plants and the surroundings, it take place through diffusion only. If through root hair are present, in stem the pores called lenticels are present, and in leaves stomatal pores are present, which help in the exchange of gases through diffusion. Clear? Now, one important question that you need to know is what will happen if the roots of plants will be waterlogged. Now, if the roots remain waterlogged, there will be no air present between the soil particles. So, the roots will not be able to respire aerobically. As a result, in order to fulfill this energy requirement, they will require anaerobically, and because of which ethanol that will be formed, which is toxic for the roots. So ultimately the roots will die. So if the roots are remain waterlogged, they will respire anaerobically and ultimately will die. Now let us discuss about how respiration in plants is different from that of in animals. Let us see the points of differences between the respiration in plants and animals. Plants, the breathing process is absent, whereas in animals, the breathing process is present except in some lower organisms. In plants, the rate of respiration is quite slow, whereas in animals, it is comparatively quite fast. In plants, there is no respiratory surface, whereas in animals, a respiratory surface is present. Similarly, in plants, there are no respiratory organs, but in animals, respiratory organs are present. In plants, each and every part is respiring individually, so a gaseous transport system is absent. Whereas in animals, a transport system is present to carry the respiratory gases. In plants, when we talk about oxygen, most of the oxygen used for aerobic respiration, it is produced internally by the process of photosynthesis. But since the animals cannot photosynthesize, so they have to obtain this oxygen from outside. Similarly, most of the carbon dioxide which is produced in the process of respiration, it will be consumed by the plants internally while doing photosynthesis, whereas no such thing will happen in animals. We will just expel out all the carbon dioxide produced as a result of the respiration in us. In plants, all the parts, whether it is root, stem or leaves, they perform respiration individually. But animals, they perform respiration as a single unit. And since all the parts are just fulfilling their requirements on their own, so there is a very little transport of respiratory gases from one part to another. But in animals, the respiratory gases are transported over long distances, right? So these are the basic differences between the respiration in plants and the respiration in animals. Now let us try to focus on how the process of respiration takes place in animals. Now in animals we have got respiratory organs. So different animals, they respire differently. For example, frogs, they breathe by lungs as well as their moist skin. Earthworms, which live in the soil, they have moist skin as their respiratory organs, through which they will just absorb oxygen from air and remove carbon dioxide. Talking about a few insects like grasshopper and cockroaches and housefly and mosquitoes, they have got tiny holes over their body. These holes are called spiracles. These are their respiratory organs. And a few of them have got air tubes which are called tracheae, right? When we talk about aquatic organisms, we know that aquatic organisms have gills. And in land animals, we have got lungs as our respiratory organs, and we have a proper respiratory system. So let us see the respiratory system in detail. Please focus on each and every detail. Talking about the human respiratory system, we know that it consists of nose. Now, inhalation of oxygen takes place through nose. Nose has two holes in it which are called nostrils. Now, in these nostrils, nose hair are present. What is the function of these nose hair? They will trap the large dust particles. So they act as filters. Another important thing is present in nose, that is mucus. Now, this mucus is a thick fluid which is secreted by the glands inside the nasal passage. And this mucus plays a very vital role. How? It traps the small dirt and dust particles present in the air. It also makes the air moist. And importantly, it contains some antimicrobial agents for killing the microbes which are present in the air which we are inhaling. Now, from nose, this air goes into the nasal cavity. Actually, it is a passage behind the nostrils. From there, it will reach the buccal cavity, that is the mouth cavity, and through bony palate. Now, what is bony palate? It is a hard bony structure which separates the nasal passage and the mouth cavity. And that separation is required because due to this, we can breathe in air even when the mouth cavity is filled with food while eating. So through this bony palate, air reaches the pharynx. That is the part of the throat between the mouth and the windpipe. From there, it reaches larynx. Now, this larynx is very important because this larynx is also called the voice box. This larynx or the voice box is present on the upper end of the trachea, that is our windpipe, and it contains vocal cords. When air enters this larynx, it will vibrate the vocal cords, because of which sound is produced and the speech is made possible. That is why it is called as voice box. Right? Now, from this larynx, from this voice box, air has to enter the windpipe. But there is an opening of larynx above the trachea which is called glottis, and a very important small leaf-like cartilaginous flap covers the glottis which is called epiglottis. Now this epiglottis is very important because it is a flap-like structure which covers the glottis while we are swallowing something, and it covers it so that the food or the water that we are eating or drinking which needs to enter in the food pipe, it should be prevented getting into the respiratory tract, right? So from there, now the air will pass on to the trachea. Now this is a tube which is called the windpipe. Very importantly, this trachea is supported by rings of cartilages, that is the cartilaginous rings. So these, if this is the trachea, then these are the internal supports, the rings of cartilages, and they play a very important role. Why? Because it is due to these rings only that trachea does not collapse. Even when there is less or no air in it, it will not collapse. Right? Now, this trachea runs down the neck and divides into two smaller tubes called bronchi. This is the plural. The singular is bronchus. Now, these bronchi, they will go into each lung. That is our respiratory organs. Now, what exactly happens in the lungs? Try to relate. These lungs are the main respiratory organs of our body. Where exactly lungs are present? Total two are there. Both of them are in the chest or the thoracic cavity, right? And this thoracic cavity is separated from the abdominal cavity by a muscular partition called diaphragm. We'll relate the function of diaphragm later on. Now, these lungs are covered by two thin membranes which are called pleura or the pleural membranes. And these lungs are enclosed in a rib cage made up of bones called ribs. Now, this is for protection. Each bronchus divides in the lungs to form a large number of smaller tubes called bronchioles. And these bronchioles have very tiny pouch-like air sacs at their ends, which are called alveoli. As a plural, as a singular, it is alveolus. Right? Now, this alveoli, these are the actual site of gaseous exchange in our body. All the oxygen, the air, the fresh air that we have inhaled, just moving through all the passage, finally they will reach the alveoli in the lungs, from where these actually diffuse into the blood capillaries which surround these alveoli. So, oxygen which we have inhaled is passed into the blood from these alveoli by the process of simple diffusion. Now, this oxygen is carried by blood to heart, and the heart is going to pump it to reach all the cells of the body. Now, this oxygen reaches the cells by diffusion. It will help in the respiration, that is the oxidation of food, to liberate energy, and carbon dioxide will be liberated in the mitochondria of the cells. This carbon dioxide will diffuse back to the blood. It will be taken back to heart. This heart is going to pump this blood to lungs, and from lungs the carbon dioxide diffuses into the alveoli, goes through the same passage, and finally exhaled out of the body through nose. So this is how gaseous exchange takes place in humans through the human respiratory system. Let us try to understand it with the help of this diagram. Please relate the marker. From the nose, we have got these nostrils, right? This is the bony palate area. Now the air that we have breathed in, it goes through the nasal passage. Then it comes to the pharynx. This is the mouth cavity, right? Just wait a second. Okay. Now from this pharynx, the air passes to the larynx, that is our voice box. Next, we have got the trachea or the windpipe, and we have got these rings of cartilages, quite importantly providing the support to trachea. Now, this trachea is now divided into these two bronchus, right? Each bronchus is going to this particular lung, right? This is one lung, this is our second lung, right? These lungs are present in the chest or the thoracic cavity, which is separated by the abdominal cavity through this muscular partition known as diaphragm. Now, in the lungs, what exactly is happening? This bronchus is further divided into these branches called the bronchioles, and at the end of each bronchiole, we have got these tiny alveoli or the air sacs. So this is our respiratory system. Clear to all, right? Now, a few things that we need to remember is the average breathing rate in an adult at rest is about 15 to 18 times per minute, which increases with increased physical activity, because at that time the rapid breathing will supply more oxygen to the body cells so that more energy is produced, which will be fulfilling the requirement for doing the physical work. Second thing to relate is that the position of larynx is indicated externally in males in the throat region by a protuberance which is called Adam's apple. Third important thing is that there is always a residual volume of gases which is left in the lungs. Means even if we inhale to our maximum, we can inhale a bit more, or even after we forcibly exhale, still some gases will be left in the lungs. Why is it so? To give sufficient time for the exchange of gases to take place. Clear? Now there is quite important thing. How exactly we breathe? So let us try to understand the mechanism of breathing in humans, which is the role of diaphragm. Diaphragm we have just seen. I have told you that we'll be studying later, right? Earlier when we encountered the word diaphragm. So let us try to understand how exactly diaphragm plays such an important role in breathing process. This diaphragm is a muscular partition which separates the thoracic cavity, that is the chest cavity, and the abdominal cavity. For example, this is the chest cavity and this is the abdominal cavity. This is the muscular partition called diaphragm which separates it. This diaphragm contracts and relaxes, due to which the process of breathing takes place. How? Let us try to understand in a bit of detail. Now, when we breathe in the air, then the diaphragm and the muscles attached to the ribs, they contract. Now, when they contract, the chest cavity will expand. As a result, the volume inside the chest cavity increases. Now, when the volume inside the chest cavity increases, what happens is the air pressure will decrease inside the chest cavity. And now there is a difference between the air pressure inside the body and the external atmosphere. And because of this difference, the air from outside being at higher pressure, it will rush into the lungs through the nostrils. This is how inhalation is caused, due to the diaphragm's contraction, leading to the expansion of chest cavity, leading to the increase in volume inside the chest cavity, decreasing the air pressure. So they all are ultimately related. Now during the process of exhalation, it is altogether opposite. Now the diaphragm and the muscles attached to the ribs, they will relax. When they will relax, what will happen? The chest cavity will contract and it will become smaller. Now, when the chest cavity becomes smaller, then the air pressure will increase, due to which the contraction movement of the chest pushes the carbon dioxide from the lungs out. Clear? So this is how exhalation takes place, by the relaxation of diaphragm, leading to the contraction of chest cavity, leading to the increase in the air pressure, and leading to the exhalation of carbon dioxide. So ultimately, it is the contraction and relaxation of the diaphragm, which causes breathing. Clear? Now, when we talk about our respiratory organ, lungs, these lungs are wonderfully designed. Why? In order to perform the function they are performing. That is, to maximize the area for exchange of gases. How are they designed separately, differently to maximize the areas for exchange of gases? Because the lungs have these three unique features. Firstly, they have millions of alveoli or air sacs in them. Now, these alveoli or these air sacs in so much large number provide large surface area for the maximum exchange of gases. Second beauty in the design is the walls of the alveoli. They are so thin, because of which it allows easy exchange of gases. Third important characteristic is that the lungs are rich in blood supply in the numerous blood vessels surrounding the alveoli, because of which easy absorption and transportation of gases can occur. So these are the difference, some design difference in the lungs leading to maximize the area for exchange of gases. Clear? Quite important. All the respiratory organs in any particular organism, these are the basic features that are required for a good respiratory organ. What are these basics? In a general form, if we say that the purpose is to have maximum exchange of gases, so there should be large area which our lungs have in the form of alveoli. In order to have a better exchange of gases, the walls should be thin, and the walls of alveoli are thin. Now, these gases are to be transported in the body of an organism, and for that medium of transportation is blood. So, obviously, there should be rich blood supply, which is there in the lungs. So, these are the reasons why lungs are such a good respiratory organ. Clear to all? So, this is all about respiration. Let us try to brush up what all we have studied right from the beginning before we end up this lecture, so that you are able to have an insight and it will help you in recalling and memorizing. What is respiration? It's a biochemical process of oxidation of food to liberate energy. Since it is taking place inside the cells of the body, it is called cellular respiration. We saw basic differences between breathing and respiration. That breathing is a physical process consuming energy without any action of enzymes taking place outside the cell. Only a few organs are involved, and it is just a physical process of taking in oxygen and giving out carbon dioxide. Whereas respiration is a biochemical intracellular process which involves enzymes to produce energy, right? And it is performed by each and every cell of the body of the organism. Then we have seen how respiration is different from photosynthesis. Photosynthesis is an anabolic endothermic process converting light energy into chemical energy, occurring in green plants, the green cells during the daytime only. The raw material, the reactants are carbon dioxide and water, and the products are glucose and oxygen. But when we talked about respiration, it is a catabolic process, exothermic process, converting the chemical energy into usable form of energy, occurring all the time and in all the type of cells. The reactants are glucose and oxygen, and the products are carbon dioxide and water, just the opposite of photosynthesis. After this, very important, we studied about the two types of respiration, that is aerobic and anaerobic. If we try to relate, then the first step in all these was the same, that one molecule of glucose was undergoing glycolysis in the cytoplasm to liberate pyruvic acid, two molecules, which is also called pyruvate. Now, if it is aerobic respiration, it will take place in mitochondria in the presence of oxygen to liberate carbon dioxide, water, and 38 ATP's energy. If now it is anaerobic, then we have seen from here we can just change this first part was same. Altogether, after the formation of pyruvic acid or pyruvate in the absence of oxygen in yeast cells, the cytoplasm of yeast cells, we have got the end product as ethanol or ethyl alcohol C2H5OH along with liberation of carbon dioxide and 2 ATP energy, right? This process is also known as fermentation. Now, if this process is taking place in the muscle cells, again, in the absence of oxygen, anaerobic respiration, then the end products were lactic acid along with liberation of water and again 2 ATP's energy was liberated, right? So this is all about our types of aerobic and anaerobic. We have seen the formulas for pyruvic acid and lactic acid. Pyruvic acid is a ketonic carboxylic acid and lactic acid is a hydroxycarboxylic acid. Then we discussed about the differences between the aerobic and the anaerobic respiration. Aerobic taking place in the presence of oxygen, anaerobic in the absence of oxygen. In anaerobic and aerobic, we have seen that aerobic complete breakdown of food takes place. That is why large amount of energy is liberated, whereas in anaerobic, partial breakdown occurs due to which less amount of energy is liberated. Occurrence: aerobic takes place partly in cytoplasm and partly in mitochondria. Anaerobic takes place completely in the cytoplasm. End products: in aerobic, these are carbon dioxide and water, whereas in anaerobic, in case of yeast cell, they are ethanol and carbon dioxide, whereas in case of animal muscle cells, it is lactic acid and water. Then we saw how exchange of gases takes place in plants. Roots through root hair by the process of diffusion, stem through the lenticels by the process of diffusion, leaves through stomata once again by the process of diffusion. I'm going a bit fast now, but I hope that you are able to relate. And if you are actually all through and thorough with this, no questions asked, then there is a possibility that few students will be like, sir, I know everything. Why are you telling it again and again? But of course, we are talking as a group, so we have all kind of students. So let us brush it up. Then we talked about respiration in plants and animals difference. In respiration in plants, breathing process is absent. Rate of respiration quite slow. No respiratory surface, no respiratory organs, no gaseous transport system. Whereas in animals, breathing process is there, comparatively quite fast process. Respiratory surface, respiratory organs and transport systems are all present. In plants, the oxygen produced, right, which is used is produced internally and the carbon dioxide produced is consumed internally, whereas here the oxygen and carbon dioxide both have to be either taken from outside or expelled out. In plants, there is a little transport of respiratory gases because all the parts perform individually. In animals, we just require to transport these because respiration takes place as a single unit, right? Quite important, the human respiratory system, starting from the nose, we have nose, two holes called nostrils. In nose we have nose hair and mucus. We saw the function of these. After entering the nose and nostrils, the air goes through the nasal passage, mouth cavity, bony palate, enters the pharynx, from where it enters the larynx, that is the voice box, first important part. It contains vocal cords and produces sound when air passes and vibrates these vocal cords. Then through glottis and epiglottis. Epiglottis is important because it covers the glottis so that it should prevent the entry of food and water in the trachea. In trachea, other name is windpipe. Very important is the rings of cartilage which help trachea not to collapse when there is less air or no air. This trachea further bifurcates into bronchi going into the lungs. Lungs are the respiratory organs having pleura or pleural membrane surrounding them, protected through the ribs Now in lungs, bronchioles are there. Bronchus are subdivided into bronchioles, and at the bronchioles we have got alveoli or air sacs, which are the actual site of gaseous exchange in our body, because the oxygen diffusing into the blood and the carbon dioxide from the blood, it diffuses to alveoli. That is why they are called the actual site of gaseous exchange, right? So this is our respiratory system in humans. For breathing, we have seen that it is the diaphragm which plays an important role, and we have seen how diaphragm contracts and relaxes, due to which the size of the chest cavity changes, due to which the volume difference is created, and there is a pressure difference created. When the chest cavity expands, the air pressure will decrease, forcing the air to get in, that is inhalation. And if the air pressure increases inside the body, then it forces the carbon dioxide to be expelled out, causing exhalation. Quite importantly, lungs as a good respiratory surface. What are the qualities? Millions of alveoli providing large surface area for maximum exchange of gases. Number one quality. Very thin walls of alveoli for easy exchange of gases. Number two quality. And rich in blood supply, because of which easy absorption and transportation is possible. Number three quality of lungs. So this is finally all about respiration. So after doing respiration, now I think you can have a good breathe, relaxed. Now is the time to revise, to learn in detail, and get prepared for the question answer session related to this particular topic of respiration. That will be taking up in the next lecture or so. Till then, try to study hard, try to relate what all important things, aerobic and anaerobic, the end products, the differences, the basic details that you may encounter. Fine. And in the next session, we'll be continuing further. Till then, take care of yourself and have a happy time, have a good time. Thanks for being with me. We'll meet soon for the next lecture. Take care, guys.